Hi, everyone. I thought that I would come on today and kind of read you a presentation that I created the other day for some students. It's all about the chakra system. Um, the reason I'm doing this today is because I woke up this morning and I just felt so like lethargic and heavy and tired and kind of yuck. And so I sat for a minute and I was like, okay, so God, which of my many tools should I pull out today to help me, move past this feeling? And after I sat in meditation for a little while, it came to me that, so often we think that we can think our way to a better day or to feeling happier or having more self confidence or whatever it might be for the day. Um, and the thing is that the mind is really, it's really a jerk. Like the ego is always wanting to kind of talk to us in the negative way to I don't know why it does that, but it does that. So what came to me while I was sitting in meditation was you can't think your way through it. You need to move your energy. And in moving your energy, that's what creates a different balance. And then I was reminded of a presentation that I created and did last week, but I haven't posted it. So I thought that it would be really good to tie the two things together. So again, I woke up and it wasn't like I could think my way into a better place today. It was like, okay, I need to feel better. And how am I going to do that? And what instantly came to me was you need to get up and go for a walk, walk the dog, even though it's cold as heck outside. Go outside and let your feet hit the earth and start waking up the root chakra. Because once I feel that in my body, pardon me, once I feel that in my body, usually everything else comes into alignment. And so, as I walk you through this little presentation, we'll go through what each chakra is and what it does in the body, like how it works with us. And then at the end, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how it gets messed up and what we can do about it. So I'm going to screen share here and bring up the presentation. Come on up. Yay. Okay. And so, here's Elevation Nation. That's my company. And I called it Chakras Simplified because, there's books that you can go purchase and they're really in depth about each chakra and what to eat and like all the different stuff about it. But this is like an overview, like a quick, I'm driving to the grocery store. I'm going to listen to a YouTube channel real quick. And so this is your quick glance. I am going to read it to you in case you are like I often just listen to YouTube or listen to videos. So I will read it in case you're not able to actually have this in your face and be reading the pages of it. On this first page, I do just want to point out that this is kind of like the representation of what chakras look like when they're drawn on. So here's a person seated. The very bottom one is the one that we're going to talk about first, which is the root chakra. And then we move up through the seven chakras all the way up to the very top chakra, our seventh chakra. Each one has a symbol that's drawn on purpose. The sacred geometry of it is important, and each one has a name. Each one has a vibration. So let's begin. We're going to start with the root chakra, and you'll notice the picture here, if you're able to look at it, is indeed roots out in the earth. It is called Muladhara chakra. And I've written here Muladhara, our first chakra, the root chakra, comes off the tailbone. It is a cone of energy like an umbilical cord that connects us to the earth plane, to Gaia, our mother. This is the first chakra to focus on because it is the root of our earthly embodiment. This is the place where we establish our survival on earth, our food, shelter, sense of safety, of warmth and protection from danger. It encompasses all that we need to survive. When this chakra is healthy, we are taken care of, fed, nourished, free of worry about being abandoned or lacking anything at all. This is a place of abundance when it is curated, and one of lack when it is blocked. So our chakras can always be open or blocked or anything in between. There's a whole gradient. Through this chakra, we connect to the heartbeat of earth, which is the word heart scrambled up. We connect to the heart of the mother, the nurturing force that is ever present and mightily abundant. The mother within this heart or earth can never abandon us, never cheat us, never do anything but love and provide. If our experience is not reflective of this abundant love, then there is an imbalance or a lesson to learn to bring us back to our wholeness. And so, this morning, this is why I was guided to work with this chakras because I woke up and I had that panic thing that I think a lot of us get, when we're living here on this earth in this very uncertain time, whether it's finances that you're worried about or a relationship or the health of someone. This is where that lives. It lives at our root, at our ability to not just survive, but thrive. And so Muladhara chakra is our root chakra. And we'll talk later about more about that. Let's just move up to the second chakra. Oh, by the way, the color of Muladhara is red. So it's kind of like a reverse rainbow, or actually like a rainbow that goes from red up to like a purplish white as you ascend through the chakras. So the first one is red. The second chakra is orange, which I chose a photo here to kind of remind us of that. Our second chakra is our creative center. Svadhisthana is its Sanskrit name. It is the next logical evolvement from being completely nurtured and cared for that we find in the first chakra. Once we are secure in our needs, our first chakra, we can move on to our desires, our craving to create and play with the magic of the earth. So that all happens here in our second chakra. We can mold clay and weave fibers. We can sing and dance upon the many surfaces of earth. We can express the urge that is inherent in life force itself to create more life. Pausing there for just a second. Yesterday, I heard someone talk about how magnificent our creator made us as an image of itself, as these creative beings. And no matter how much damage we seem to do to ourselves, the life force that was put inside of us at the time that we were created, it seems to surpass almost all things. Like we can put toxins into our body, and yet our body still thrives. We can live in really horrible situations and we still thrive. So I thought that was really cool. I just wanted to insert that. So anyway, so once we have the security of our needs, we can move into our desires. And I just listed some examples there about molding clay and weaving fibers, singing and dancing. We can express the urge that is inherent in our life force, which is to create more life. Creativity likes to create more creativity. We can express the urge that is inherent in life, just as God created you to experience more of itself. You wish to create more of creation. This is the wonderment we see in babies or toddlers as they begin to experience the world around them. And they giggle at the sounds they make, the pleasures of touching sand, splashing of their little hands in water, only to see the result of the splashes around them. They're not splashing for a reason, they're just splashing because it's cool and they see what happens when they do splash. They delight in feeling pleasure, the feeling of joy and ecstasy. And that's what can happen here at this chakra. This is the highest of vibrations, the closest we can get to God, this feeling of creativity. And this connection is readily available via the creative chakra. The creative center is also the center of creating more life. It is our sexual center. This desire is also called urge, a primal sense of wanting to procreate and to experience the pleasure of communing with another's creative energy. So if we can think about sex in that way, where the initial reason for sex is to create another human. So of course we're going to have that urge inside of us. But then when we come together with another person's creative energy and we merge those two things together, it's absolutely magic, right? This is why making music with another person, dancing together, or cooperating on a project can feel almost sexual at times. We're spinning the energy together, which doubles the magnification of the wonderful feeling, which is receiving manifestation of creation. So if you can think about that, it's the actual, you're creating, but you're also simultaneously receiving the result of your creating, the manifestation of your creating in that moment. It's the union with source, God, source, whatever you'd like to call it, a remembering of our pre-incarnate state. So before we were born, before we believed that we were separate from God. So you can find that union right there at the sacral chakra. And I put those words here on the page too, that, I think it's interesting how closely related sacral, which is the name of the chakra in English, and sacred are. It is our sacred center. So we've moved from the root chakra, which gives us our security and our sense of being here on earth, up into our creative chakra. And now we're going to move into the third chakra, which is the solar plexus. It's called Manipura. Moving up to the third chakra, that of the belly, of digestion. This is named Manipura, and it is the solar plexus chakra, the chakra of self-identity. It makes sense that we would first connect down to earth, to the heart, to our physical manifestation here on earth via the first chakra, and then connect to our creative source of life force through the second chakra. And then, as these two come together and merge, they merge us into our self identity, our sense of individuality. At this seat of personal power, we intake information from the outside world, we bring it inside, and we work with it here in the upper belly, the place where we can feel into the flavor of life, into the nutrients, and to sort through what is good for us and what we reject. This is why we get a gut feeling about things and a sense of when things are for us and when they're not in alignment with our own best health and well being. The proximity of Manipura to our second chakra is logical because both work with a feeling of urge. The raw urge from the second chakra communicates with the third chakra regarding how to manifest. The Manipura, notice Manipura manifest, they both have the same, the first half of the word Mani. The Manipura chakra helps bring the urge forward into the world as a manifested reality, but it is sometimes muted by the chakra when Manipura is blocked. If we feel unsure about ourselves and our role in the world, or if we've been told that our gifts and our skills or our personal identity are not valuable, we may become self limiting and deny our urge. When blocked, we distrust our urge and we fail to experience joy and satisfaction. We limit the manifestation of good things in our life and are often attracting situations that reflect to us a small self worth or limiting beliefs, kind of a hiding away from life and a resistance to being witnessed. Often, this blockage will manifest as poor eating habits, alcohol abuse, or attracting unhealthy relationships as we manifest that which is not good for us. We fail to connect with a sense of good health and desire for radiance and being cut off from following our gut instinct. So, thinking here, you can actually take your hand and kind of put your pinky down at your navel and kind of just spread your fingers out. And in that area that is being taken up by your hand, that would be the Manipura chakra, the solar plexus. Gosh, this one for me, I just think that this one is so key. I think this is, I think it's where a lot of us get really stuck right here because we live in this world that tells us what we're supposed to be. And we are wise souls on the inside and we know what feels good to us, that second chakra urging that we feel. But if that one doesn't match the outside world, this chakra gets blocked and we can feel really limited. It's like we feel cut off, almost like we are unwilling to show up as our true self in the world because we've been told enough that that thing that we urge for isn't really valued in the outside world. And we can talk about this more at the end of going through the seven chakras, but I just think that so many of us in at least America right now are we're dealing a lot with this chakra. I think it's almost like an evolutionary process kind of thing where the self identity is being challenged. And you know what? It's actually being challenged because the two chakras below it right now are really messed up. And so we're going to talk about that too. Like, how do you have a healthy solar plexus if your urging is off from your second chakra, or if your root chakra doesn't feel safe and secure? So everything has to work together. And let me just go back up to that first page. So we've talked about these three right here. The root chakra is safety and security and connection to earth, feeling grounded, feeling fed and nurtured and cared for and safe. This is our sacral or sacred or chakra, our sexual chakra. So this is urge and desire to create. And so you can imagine this is rooting us down to the earth, keeping us safe so that we were able to create. And when we were able to create, we established then a really good self identity. So picturing this all in good health with all of these wheels, these chakras, that's what chakra means, is wheel. If you imagine these as wheels, kind of like the wheels of a clock, where this one spins one direction and then this one spins the other and then this one spins the other, and they're all working together kind of like gears. If you can picture the three of these so far being in perfect harmony, you've got someone who's got all of their needs met which allows them to stay open for creativity, to be able to create whatever it might be in the world. And I'm not just talking about art. I'm talking about creating a family, creating a town, creating um, healthy dynamics, creating food. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff that we create here. And then moving that up here into a really good, healthy sense of oneself. Like I feel good about myself because I know that I am in alignment with my creativity and my earth. I feel well supported, well protected. And then as you do that, this center right here would be so radiant that you would be able to manifest whatever your heart, whatever you're urging for right here, you're easily manifesting. So there's not a sense of striving, it's a sense of just allowing, like allowing the manifestations, allowing the universe to deliver to you the things that you most crave, that the home, the family, the whatever it is, the success, the travel. I'm not sure what you crave for, but this is where it would happen right here. um, so now we're going to move on to this green chakra. We're going to move on to the heart chakra. Let's just scroll back down to that part. Um, so I put on here, it's Anahata chakra. She's holding on to the energy center of her heart, which happens to be over top of her physical heart. The color of Anahata chakra is green. So we've moved up the rainbow, red, orange, yellow. Now we're at green. It's called Anahata. And I always think it's interesting that Hata is sort of like a heart to me. It kind of reminds me of that. So the fourth chakra is our centermost chakra, the heart, which lies between and connects the lower three chakras to the upper three chakras. So there are 7 chakras. If you picture 3 above, 3 below, this is the one in between. Its Sanskrit name is Anahata. The previous 3 chakras we discussed are based in our earthiness, our embodiment as a human here in this matrix of group consciousness. The upper 3 are connected to the heavenly realm, which we'll get to. And they have to do with a higher consciousness, which is less connected to earth and more to the ethereal, to that which is less tangible, possibly more heady or more heavenly. The heart, therefore, lies between heaven and earth, and it is a powerful generator of our existence. While this is the energetic heart space, it encircles the physical heart as well. And you can see in this picture that I posted of her, she's kind of covering her heart. So that's right where it's at. Without the physical heart, we fail to live. Think about that. Without a heartbeat, you're not alive, right? The heart is a beacon of our other 6 chakras. It is the announcer of our energetic signature, which comes from mixing the 6 others together. The heart chakra is essentially the conductor of our personal orchestra, keeping the rhythm of everything in check. Sometimes our hearts seem to sing with joyful energy, and other times our hearts feel heavily burdened. We suffer what we call heartache, and we can feel that while it is an energy or an emotion, it does weigh on our chest. We can also feel expansion here when we are in the vibration of truth and love, and also when we are magnetically pulled. This is how powerful the heart chakra is. It is incredibly powerful. It is 5,000 times more magnetically and 60 times more electrically powerful than our brain, according to the Heart Math Institute. If you haven't studied the Heart Math Institute or connected to them, please go online, just heartmathinstitute.org. Amazing work that they do there. They do the science behind the woo-woo, I call it. So all the energetic, they're just measuring. They're measuring things that people might not normally be able to quantify. So we can say that it's the most powerful chakra for this reason, and why we are led by our heart. So very often we'll say, like, my mind said to do one thing, but my heart said to do another. And very often we're led by the heart. It's because it's so powerful and so wise. We're easily influenced by the information of the heart. We are magnetically attracted with our hearts to people of similar energy signatures. So while we are attracted to people based on what we see from them, so often our attraction comes from our heart. Like, I really love that person. Gosh, they really make me feel different. We create our tribe this way. So connecting to other people who are of like mind is what we usually say, but they're actually of like heart. It is from the heart that the mind is most strongly informed. For instance, we will make a decision based on our emotional reaction more so than by pure logic. We make more decisions from our heart than from our brain. This is evident in the partners we choose. I mean, how often do we choose somebody who's logically not good for us, but we feel so divinely connected to them in our heart? So this is evident in the partners that we choose, the items that we buy, the way we spend our money and energy, and what inspires us, whether the inspiration comes from rage or love, or whether it comes strong, whether which one it comes from, it comes strongly from this center. So just thinking for a second how much our hearts are used by the advertising agencies, like the whole, materialistic world out there, they go to our heart. They try to get us to buy things based on our feelings of incompetency in our heart, or just our love or our rage. Even political agendas are taking our heart and manipulating what's going on in our heart space. So we might see violence on TV, and that enrages us, and we know that that is not okay, and so it enrages us, and then that's used to turn us into a political arena of conversation. um, I mean, how many perfume commercials have you seen where there's like this woman and this man falling in love, and it's all because of the perfume that the woman was wearing? It's all based on the heart, and they know that. Advertising agencies know that. Political people know that. Government knows that. So it all goes to the heart, not really the mind. We don't buy things out of logic. It's not like, wow, this pair of sneakers is going to last me longer than the other pair. It's like, no, it's because usually the commercial or the company, the branding that we try to associate ourselves with, the loyalty that we have. So where else did I say on here? Okay, so when we say that we're getting centered, it means that we are going back into our hearts and aligning every bit of ourself with the wisdom of our heart. And I think that's really important, because there's a difference between getting grounded. For me, at least, getting grounded means rooting myself down into Mother Earth, because that's where my safety and security and stability are. It's like putting my roots back down in the ground so that I'm not flighty and getting, pushed around by my thoughts, by my wiggly mind. Grounded is different than centered. For me, centered is first you get grounded, and then you pull all of your chakras back into the heart. You go back into the heart, and that is our center. And from that centermost place, that super wise place, that's where we're able to be balanced, because everything is in alignment. If you think about those chakras, those wheels, everything is spinning correctly. So we're open, let's see. So we say that we're getting centered. That means that we are going back into our hearts and aligning every bit of ourself with the wisdom in our heart. We are opening the channels and allowing in direct flow of heaven and earth from above, all those chakras, and below, to collect in our center, in our heart. Balancing this allows us to have an even flow, a neutral stance based solidly in love, with information flowing in constantly from below regarding safe boundaries and sensations of urge, the love of self and confidence in our ability to create life via our unique personal codex. When connected to the upper three chakras and unobstructed, it becomes a divinely guided and righteously communicated beacon of truth. So you can feel those two things coming together. All of those earth energy chakras mixing together with the divine chakras from above, right there in our heart, makes us completely balanced, completely in alignment with our self, like our entire signature, our soul signature. Moving on to the fifth chakra, Vishuddha chakra. This brings us to the fifth chakra, located at the throat, in between the mind and the heart. This center is our center of communication, the place where we mix together the stories of the mind and the energies of the heart. And these affect our ability to speak and write and sing and announce the moment to moment manifestation of our earthly existence. Imagine a songbird here, which is why I put the little blue guy. Also, the color of Vishuddha is blue. The throat chakra is blue. So imagine a songbird. It is the color blue, and as it sings, we understand what it is experiencing, whether joy or desperation. It announces through its voice the heart's message and the mind's story. So I'm thinking, when you think of a bird, if we're just sitting here looking out at the backyard, which I'm doing right now, you can tell if the birds are kind of just talking to each other, being happy, being excited that they found some berries, or if they're like, squawk, squawk, holy crap, here comes a hawk, we better fly away. So that's just like a visual that came to me when I was writing this up, was, thinking of a bird and how a bird sings and how you can really understand its experience that way. You could think about humans singing, what our songs are like, and what, a hymn is like from church, whether it's a rejoicing hymn or a sorrowful hymn. And I mean, gosh, if you think about the world of the music industry right now, the way that the throat chakra is being used to express, there's music that's just raging music where it's just screaming and angry. There's what I consider to be foul, like a lot of rap right now is just real, like, wow, real negative stuff. And so that the communication that's coming through the throat chakra is an expression of what is being felt on the heart and in the mind. It's where they come together and beam out. Okay, moving back to what I've written. I don't want this to take too long. It announces through its voice the heart's message and the mind's story. And notice I said mind's story because what's going on in our mind isn't always true. The need to be heard and to hear another is essential to living in community. And just for a second, I want you to think about the word community and communication. We have to have, once we want to live in a community, we needed a way to communicate. And so we're doing that through our throat chakras here. And if you think about community, communicate, and commune, like it is the coming together of our minds, our hearts, and our beings. And that's what being in a community is. We're given the chakra's gift of manifested energy in a form that can be shared largely and loudly from one being to another. This chakra is the highway for our outward expression of what we need to convey. It holds all the stories of the heart and the constructs of the mind that otherwise would go unrecognized. And so it serves to honor both the heart and the mind. If you think about that, like, imagine that we are just these beings and we don't have a throat chakra. Like, we're not able to communicate out through our hearts, out through our throats. We'd have to rely on somehow communicating through our hearts, which we can feel each other's energy, but not from far away necessarily. If there's something that we need to hear from somebody, we needed a way of getting it from the heart and the mind out to people. And so that's the throat chakra. That's where our vocal cords are, our center of speech, our tongue, our mouth, our chin, our teeth. So it's kind of like the highway for the communication to zip through. So when balanced, it is a divine frequency able to shift the paradigm of anyone capable of its resonance. To exemplify the power of a blocked throat chakra, we might recall a person with a tendency to gossip, whose throat chakra is affected by their heart's imbalance and their mind's looseness. One who tells lies is using the throat chakra without the information from their higher chakras to balance out the false flow of ego that's affecting their communication. A balanced example is the effect of a powerful song that moves us to tears, or a story written and told in such powerfully clear prose that we believe we are inside the story itself. The Sanskrit name for our throat chakra is telling. Vishuddha means very pure, and we can understand that it is a pure expression of the mind and heart. And I just wanted to end that chakra saying, we'll leave a conversation sometimes and we'll say things like, I can't believe she said that, like, wow. Or like I was saying before in this one sentence, when balanced, it is a divine frequency able to shift the paradigm of anyone capable of its resonance. So if you think about really powerful orators, like a Martin Luther King Jr., people who have given speeches that they're so powerful, and not just one speech, but over and over and over again. Their power to communicate is how we create community. They bring people together using their sense of communication. In that chakra. So those people who are really, really centered and really grounded and connected to both their upper and lower chakras can use this throat space, this throat chakra, to really create change, to create impact. So moving from the fifth chakra up to the sixth, this is Ajna chakra. And right here in this picture of the girl, she's pointing to her third eye, kind of right between her brows and the center of her forehead. And the way that I used to call this was eye three for me to see. So your third eye is for you to see clearly. I also made a little picture here of pine cones because this chakra is related to our pineal gland, which is like smack in the middle of our brain. Like if you could take your head, open it up, the cross section of the head, like right in the center is your pineal gland, and the pineal gland is shaped like a little pine cone. So our sixth chakra lies in the area of our forehead. It's our mind, but it is indeed a higher sense of mind, our clear knowing. This energy center is arguably our most stimulated one, for better or for worse. I mean, think about our society today. Everything is bombarding our mind, right? We grew up in a society that accesses us constantly through the mind. So it is our job to learn how to quiet this circus in order to claim and maintain a balanced Ajna chakra. When quieted and balanced, we are connected to a clear knowing, an intuitive flow of selfless, pure knowing. We do not need to critically analyze or logic our way to knowing. When this chakra is clear, our knowing is clear. We move from the imbalanced, overstimulated state of being to a calm, serene, balanced state that allows the settling of dust and a clear view of truth. We ready this chakra with meditation, with quiet inner peace, so we can obtain inner standing. I love that word. That's a word that I've recently come to know. Understanding makes it seem like there is a truth that we are kind of accepting as something higher than us that's kind of pushing down on us. But inner standing is something that comes from within. It's something that is just so unquestionably pure. And it doesn't necessarily come from a dictator or some type of agreement that we've made societally. It's an inner standing. It's something that might only be known to you, or something that resonates clearly with you, and maybe not even with other people, but it is your understanding of something. When overexposed to the outside world of thought forms and information, we are too overstimulated to have a calming of the mind. This affects our throat chakra as well as our hearts. Too much outside in changes our concept of the world, of ourselves, and strains the heart. It can strain our solar plexus as well as the lower chakras too. So it's essential to maintain an open and balanced Ajna chakra. We clear this and create balance to clear a path for our inner standing to churn through the other chakras. After a meditation practice, for instance, we feel calm and restored and informed from the grace within ourselves, unaffected by the outer reality, and connected to our inner truth instead. That's the inner standing. Our current society relies on us being imbalanced here, unable to access our own inner standing and relying upon their truth to be our truth. We've been manipulated in this way for eons, and those who have found peace are those who have learned how to go inside to balance this chakra so that divine truths can be revealed from the more pure and higher vibration of knowing. The magic seed of the pineal gland is located within the center. So I just want to take a second to talk a little bit more about Ajna chakra. I mean, our chakras all have to work together, like that initial page where I have the diagram of the 7 chakras. Everything has to be in balance for us to feel amazing, right? But this one is one that I just feel like it's like targeted right now as the information age that we have, where we're all holding phones in our hands. Sometimes we have our watch, like an Apple Watch on, and so we have information at us constantly. And so it's difficult sometimes to quiet the mind. And people will say to me when I'm teaching them meditation and mindfulness, gosh, I just can't meditate. I sit down and my mind doesn't stop. It just keeps racing. And that's because it's been overstimulated, because we haven't been trained how to quiet our minds, like how to actually stop the monkey mind, stop the flow. Part of stopping the flow, as a yoga teacher, I've always practiced a really physically challenging vinyasa flow type of yoga, because if you get on the mat and you can work through your energy chakras and you can release the tension and get yourself grounded and centered, then by the time your practice is over, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour and a half later, and you sit down to meditate, everything is so organized. The chakras are all spinning so beautifully that finally that Ajna chakra is able to calm itself down. But sometimes that has to happen through working it through the body and through the other chakras, actually releasing the energy, releasing the scattering. And primarily, I think the most important thing is breathing. If we can breathe and listen to our breath, it almost immediately signals that pineal gland on a chemical level to be activated. And when we activate the pineal gland, that's when we're able to open up to higher dimensions, to the quiet, to the flow, to sacred information. As long as we are toxifying the pineal gland, and I could go into this for a long time. There's so many things that have been built into our society and our way of life that do actually calcify the pineal gland, and that's stuff like alcohol and caffeine, the fluoride that's put in our toothpaste and our water. Lately, with the virus that's around, we go and we have people shooting those little infrared thermometers at our third eye. They're shooting it right there. And over time, I think we're going to find that that's not good for that gland. I have them take my temperature on my wrist. Um, there's so many things that have begun to attack the pineal gland because the powers that be know that that is our seed of magic in there. It is our sense of higher knowing. And think about a society where we're all balanced in our own knowing. If that's the case, we're so much less easily manipulated by the outside world. So getting real centered, real grounded, and really being attached, or not attached, but connected to our inner knowing, having inner standing is just so important for our thriving and for our sense of being connected to God, which leads us to the seventh chakra. Let's move on to there, to Sahasrara chakra. So it's the crown chakra. It's the halo or hallowed. If you think about, at least in the Bible, hallowed means holy. So all of those words sound the same: halo, hallowed, holy, and then it's all the crown chakra. So finally, we arrive at the seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra. This is our halo, our divine connection to the highest form of being. Notice it's not doing, but it's being. We are a human being. It is the connection to the heavenly realm that is not outside nor above us, but in our highest frequency of light. It resides just above the head at the summit because it is above the mind, above knowing. It informs our inner standing and our values. It's the closest portal to the clear connection we can have with the divine. When open and clear and balanced, the chakra allows us a feeling of divine truth to pervade our entire being. We feel the oneness with all source, with God, with the infinite. This chakra, when opened, allows an opening to the truth of all things, the ever present divinity that birthed us, that willed us into creation and made our first chakra connect here on the earth plane. And so I love that that's like top to bottom, heaven and earth. This is the place, this crown chakra is the connection to the divinity that created us, which goes back down, to the root chakra of us being created here on earth. This chakra is illustrated in the depictions of holy ones, of saints, angels, and even on the crown of Buddha. The glow comes off the head and radiates out and up with an iridescent glow. The path to this illumination is balancing those lower chakras and allowing everything to align with our divine perfection. We are made of God, intended by God, created in the image of God. And this is our God chakra. The other 6 chakras or wheels can be seen like the inner workings of a watch or a clock. When they are in correct flow and all spinning, I would say, at the right pace, the right frequencies, then we have learned that we are indeed the master of our own being. We can find the rhythm that sets us in symphony with God's light frequency. And that is what's up here. This is the frequency of God. It's the highest frequency in our body. This ultimately illuminates us as we connect earth to heaven. And this is the ascension process. This is also the resurrection as we become once again the divine light that sparked our own creation. We find everlasting oneness and truth in this final 7th chakra. The state achieved is called samadhi or bliss. So just looking one more time at the center of this silhouette that's on here. Again, if you just imagine that there are wheels going up the front, and once you get to the very top, that wheel is spinning so much that it's almost shining off light. And you can think again about the rainbow colors. Once we get up to the top here, this is, the throat was blue, the third eye is like a purplish color, and then the crown chakra is that iridescent, it's like ultraviolet almost. It's like whitish colored, whitish lavender maybe colored. Um, and so it looks just kind of like pure light, if you will. And that is our goal, is to have this always open and be connected to pure light. Okay, so we just ended that last one talking about the state of bliss that's called samadhi, at least in yoga. And so this page is dedicated to samadhi, the bliss state. All sacred teachings speak of this as our mission, our soul's urging once we are on the sacred path and awakened, to find our truth, our connection to the one thing that is real. The one thing is God. It is source. It is beyond the lower six chakras in terms of its frequency, because it's the opposite of the frequency of survival. So if you think about that root chakra, we're thinking about survival, earthly things. If you were to measure that chakra's frequency, it is definitely lower than that of the heart and then that of our seventh chakra, our crown chakra. So the one real thing is God. It is source. It is beyond the lower six chakras in terms of frequency, because it's the opposite of the frequency of survival. Samadhi is love in its purest form, as opposed to fear. The lower chakras are denser energies, those of earth rather than heaven. As we ascend through the energetic body, we ascend in consciousness. So this page is kind of where we get a little bit deeper. And the other pages have been about what the chakras are, the colors, the frequencies, what they're about. And then you can infer from those last slides, if you have digestive issues, stomach issues, you might want to think about your solar plexus and go back to that page and kind of ask yourself, like, what are the issues that I might have with my self-identity? Like, how is that being influenced by the world around me or by my experience as a human being here on earth? So you can kind of go back and look at those seven chakras and sort of do your own connecting with that, and research anything any more than what I've already said. Again, this is kind of a quick glance, so there's so much more to be said about each of those and how to balance them. But this page, I just wanted to talk really quickly, because there's sometimes is a sense of, if you feel like something is off, like, oh gosh, my root chakra is blocked, you might feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. But I really wanted to point out here how it's not so much something that like we've created inside of ourselves, as it is the world that we live in. When we incarnate here on earth, we kind of have this agreement that we are going to live in an earthly way and deal with this earth plane, this 3D existence. So this page and then the next one are about how the energies have been manipulated here on this earth plane. So understanding a little bit why the chakras might be a little imbalanced, or why you might have issues at one chakra or another. Sometimes it is about our own soul path, but in a way it's kind of like what's happening from the outside world or from your experience here on earth. So I put, first and foremost, we need to state that there is no victimization. So there is no blaming going on here. It's not like, oh wow, I'm broken because of blah blah blah. No, not at all. We all choose our life path before we are created here. So our soul already knows what we've agreed to. We've agreed to go through the trials and the tribulations of being incarnate. I don't know why this is. Perhaps it's an agreement to assist the collective in a larger mission of ascension, one in which our own success affects the success of the larger picture. So maybe we come here and we go through these struggles and we learn how to like conquer them, or how to heal ourselves through it, so that as a collective with all the people and all the souls, we're raising the whole vibration of the whole planet, and maybe we're helping the planet to ascend, or to come into a group consciousness of higher vibration, of a new way of existing on the earth. But no matter why we do this, we all come in and instantly we are separated from source, from that high vibration that our soul never forgets. So you think about going from being on a soul level to all of a sudden we're in a body, we're outside of our mother's body, and we are here on the earth. We instantly feel a disconnection, a sense of loss. And right there, the second we're born, the second we come from the heavenly realm into earth, we're imprinted with the idea of lack, of striving, of survival. We know from the moment we're born that there's a need to survive here. And we quickly learn how to suckle and cry and find comfort in being warm and dry and sheltered and fed. From there, we learn the information about our surroundings and how Earth life works, and we begin our journey of survival. So think about a small baby, think about how much that baby needs not to be enlightened, right? But to be to be cared for so that it doesn't get eaten by a lion, or fail to thrive because it's not fed. Our first root chakra issues are established the minute that we're born as we go on this journey of surviving and hopefully to thriving. Babies who are born into really wonderful families, from their needs are met instantly, and they often probably don't have lack issues as they grow older. But if we establish that when we're a baby, if we have a sense of someone's not there for me when I cry, or I didn't have enough food, or whatever it might be, that person's pretty much, I don't know, I would say they're on a path to needing to work on that chakra as they grow older, if that hasn't been met. So I wrote down baggage with a question mark here. We understand and urge and learn very early on what is acceptable urge. So we're going into that second chakra now, that urging, the sacral chakra, the sacred chakra. What's acceptable urge, and which urges result in vulnerability or believing that we will lose our security. If our urge doesn't match the commonly accepted urge, we find ourselves among, pardon me, so let's say that we have our second chakra being activated as we grow a little bit older, like as you're a toddler, and you're like, ooh, I want to touch that thing, and you urge to touch it, and then you're told, no, don't touch that, it's not safe. That kind of affects our sense of, oh, I had an urge, and it didn't match the urge of my mom or my dad or my caretaker, so I got told no. And then, just depending on how you're raised, if a child's raised with different boundaries, it will affect their idea of what their urge means. How validated is their urging? And so as we grow and we develop, we set a sense of self. That's the third chakra. As we grow and develop a sense of self and get messages about the correctness of this in the schematics of our reality, we sometimes suffer heartache, and we learn about communication. It kind of goes up through the chakras. So the first one is the security. How do we establish our needs as a baby? And then what were we told about our urge? How did that combine to give us a sense of who we are, our identity, our self concept, and our solar plexus chakra? What does that tell us about our heart, and what is our heart getting from our communication center? It all kind of works together, and you can picture how the chakras are sort of spinning and changing as we grow older. So we suffer heartache, and we learn about communication, and we come to a point when we think that we have figured it all out. We take in the information that we believe is true, through our mind, and we enter it into our personal data bank as data, thinking that this is all true. And our human perception, seeing is believing, and that experience rules. So what I'm getting to at this point is that, we spend however many years of our life bringing in information, having experiences, and we kind of create our energy centers as a certain thing, which is our signature of who we are as a being. And then what I've noticed is that so many of us come to a point where it stops. It's like a machine that's been going, all these wheels are turning, but there's little glitches in them. And eventually, if everything's not running smoothly in a car or a watch or whatever it might be, it will break down. Your car will break down, your watch will stop running. That's kind of what happens to us as people. If something happens and it all stops, we're like, whoa, what just happened? So this page is called New Start, just ahead. And it says, then at just the right time in our earth journey, just when we think that we've maybe got it figured out and it might not be perfect, but at least it's working, Source, God, the universe will present us with an opportunity to heal and to see actual truth. Often we're given a great loss or pain or illness or some seemingly destructive event that will make us stop in our tracks and reconsider everything we've ever learned. We get a chance to examine everything that we took in while we were on autopilot, and we're given a new chance to ascend. We revisit our experiences and we see them from a new vantage point. We heal the chakras and we find our way to balance and ultimately to truth. And with any luck, we'll find our way to samadhi. This page is about unlearning. In that search for truth, we're going to discover a lot of lies. We're going to see that the abuses we suffered were not due to a lack on our part, but to a lie, a departure from love that exists here on this earth. We see that people have altered the matrix that we live inside of so that we function only on lack. We're still always stuck in that root chakra, the survival. That's a departure from love, because love, remember, is the opposite. It's samadhi. It's the highest frequency of God, and it is complete abundance and prosperity. So there was a departure from love and an entry into lack that existed. And we see that people have altered this matrix to just function on lack. And if you think about that, I mean, think about the world that we live in. We get up every day, everyone goes to work. Why do they go to work? They go to work so they can provide. Why do they provide? So that we're not hungry, so that we're not homeless. You know, everything is based on lack, on survival. They figured out that by the way, is like the powers that be, figured out that by robbing us of our first chakra's balance, which is food, home, survival, safety, that they can keep us working hard to deserve all the items needed for survival, from food and shelter to acceptance and community. Then they figured out that our creative energy was the next one that would keep us satisfied. Because if you're working in urge and feeling creative, you know, you're vibing pretty high. So they messed up with our concepts of creation. They schooled us away from our urge and defamed the images of sensuality and sex. They made women feel like whores if they desired physical pleasure through the constructs of religion and culture. They raped and molested children to steal their vital essence before they even understood what it means, leaving so many scarred and broken and with no way to heal, afraid to speak out because of shame and fear of losing their security and safety at a vulnerable age. So there's just so much, I think, in our society that has kept the first and second chakras debilitated in terms of survival and sex. And by sex, like, I also mean creative energy. Those have been so stifled in our communities and our society that you can kind of understand why we're kind of not, we're not all manifesting, you know, at that solar plexus chakra. We're not all just ascending and enlightened and in communication with God all the time. So we come to a point of understanding, there's that word again, that we've been lied to about almost everything. It's no wonder so few live in peace and balance and prosperity. It's no wonder that so many live in survival mode for their entire earthly life. We are programmed into the lack matrix from day one, stuck at the mercy of a wobbly chakra system, imprisoned in our own bodies. So here's how to ascend. In conclusion, abundance, ascend means to go up, by the way, to get more light, to go up in the chakras, to go up toward God. In conclusion, abundance is our birthright. It is God's divine plan for us. It is why we are given the chance to awaken. There's that moment where we think everything's going okay, and then boom, something happens. Anyone who has taken the journey of ascension or awakening will tell you that while it is a rough road and it is fraught with death and letting go, kind of peeling away the onion, it is also the greatest gift we can be bestowed. As we remove all the blocks to our truth, to the one truth, balancing and cleansing our chakras, we get lighter and lighter, and the flow of energy grows ever more powerful. We become once again the beings of light, of love, of truth, which is the exact blueprint, the exact same essence of God. We unwrap ourselves as we ascend. And so I put, so now what? You know, it's great for us to talk about all this and to be really aware of your chakras, because sometimes we just think that our situations are like these problems outside of us that need an answer. Like our mind is working to like find the problem and fix it, find the problem and fix it. And we forget that we have this subtle body, that we have energy centers that, you know, we're kind of shown what can you see? Oh, okay, I can see that, you know, I have a broken arm or something like that. Like we can see the ailments that are physical, but we can't necessarily see or sense into what's going on with us on an energetic level. And that's what I wanted this little class to be is, you know, you have an energy body and you cannot deny this. It has been measured. It's for real. It's legit. It's been talked about for thousands and thousands of years. We have an energetic body, and it's time to start paying attention to the subtle, paying attention to the energy body, not just the physical body. So when you are sick, what does that mean for your physical body? But what does it also mean in your energetic, soul-based body? Like what's going on? Can you ask yourself those questions about what is the deeper information that is being offered here, the deeper opportunity to heal? So I put, so now what? If you want help with this kind of stuff, if you want help clearing your chakras, I do energy work. If you want to have a talk session, like a coaching session, we can work on it that way. I've been blessed from God to have the ability to kind of tap into this information and be able to see it in another person and to work with it. And so often it's belief systems that are in here, and these little shadow contracts that we have where we learned things and we stuck them in our bodies. And so that kind of creates a wobble in our chakras. So if you want that kind of help, please reach out. My website is www.elevatewithnicole, and the word love is inside of there, love, elevatewithnicole.com. And my email is elevation.nation@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out for help. And I just pray that today you'll take the time to kind of sit down and, you know, you can do a meditation where you just allow yourself to balance and connect each chakra as it grows up from the earth up to heaven above. You can breathe up through the chakras, breathe down through the chakras. It's real easy work. So thanks again for listening, and reach out if you want any help or if you want any answers to questions about this presentation.